Hello, students. We are going to dive a little bit into Code.org's CS Discoveries class, and we are focusing on Lesson 2, which is an introduction to Code.org's Web Lab and HTML, one of the languages used to create web pages. As we approach the different lessons that are going to be part of Unit 2 web development, some of the questions I want us to ask ourselves is, why do people create websites? And how can text communicate content and structure on a web page? Okay. So, why do people create websites? Well, one of the main reasons is to communicate information to other humans. So, as we approach a few of these activities in Lesson 2, Intro to HTML, we want to think about how are us as web developers going to communicate our thoughts and our ideas to other humans who view our web pages, and how are we going to use the text to communicate the content and to structure it so that it looks like an organized, well designed web page. All right, so those are questions we're just going to ask ourselves. On the screen, you should see Welcome to Web Lab. Let's take a tour a little bit to see what is Web Lab. So here it says the platform you are in is called Web Lab. There are three main parts of the screen in Web Lab. And over here, it shows us the three main parts. So on the left is the area for files. In the middle is the area for workspace. And to the right is the preview so that we're able to see how our work will look to other humans. Um, so this is just a representation. In reality, our web lab is down here. So if you see index.html, this is the files area. And you hover over here, you see a separation. The middle is the workspace area. And then over to the right is the preview. So Web Lab activity 2 is saying to do this. Try typing something in the workspace and then press this button, which is refresh and save, to see it in the preview area. And I've already done that for us. On line 1, I put well. On line 2, I put hello world. On line 3, I put this is the third line. And then I pressed refresh and save. And this is how it came out. Well, hello world, this is the third line. Why do you think that is, students? Why do you think that even though I wrote it on 3 separate lines over here, the preview only has it in 1 line? That's a question that I want us to think about. And to show you again, hello world. Well, hello world. Let's type something different. So, well, hello world. I am on the third line. I'm gonna hit enter. Now I am on the fourth line. And I'll go back and give some punctuation. Well, hello world. So we see in our workspace that I've written some information on 4 different lines. Okay, I'm gonna follow the instructions and I'm gonna go over here and hit refresh and save to see, will it show us a preview of it on 4 different lines? And no, it's still only on 1 line. Well, hello world, I am on the 3rd line. Now I am on the 4th line. Why do you think that is? Let's see if we'll get our answer. in the future screens. So if you're following along with me in your code.org account, you're going to go ahead and press finish. As a reminder, you should be able to log in to code.org following the link provided. And in the upper right corner is how you're able to see if you're logged in. You should see your name. If not, my recommendation is to log in with Google. Um, All right. So to go to the next screen, I'm going to go to the bottom right corner and hit the finish button. Now here's a video. We are going to try to listen to this video.
My name is Milani. I'm a curriculum development intern here at code.org, and I'm also a computer science student at Cascadia College. I always liked the fact that I can make whatever I want with computer science. I've been able to make really cool websites that are about topics I'm really passionate about, and I just really enjoy that there's so many different ways to express myself through such an outlet. Websites are everywhere, and they're the primary way many people get their news, keep up with friends' activities, learn new information, and share the details of their lives. Right now, you might be a consumer of websites created by others, but you're about to learn how to be a website creator with the power to make and share something brand new with the entire world. To do this, you'll be using WebLab, a unique tool that allows you to create your own websites with many of the same capabilities as a professional web developer. The instructions section includes directions for the project you're currently working on. When you're ready, you can collapse the instructions and shrink the size. Below the instructions, WebLab has a list of files and images that will appear on the website. Just like a news website has different pages for the front page, the arts and entertainment page, and the science page, your website will eventually have multiple pages based on files stored here. To edit a web page, you'll need to navigate to the right file name that corresponds to that page. Every project starts with a single index.html file, which is the main page of your website. When you click on the index.html file, it pulls up the contents of the file over here in the workspace. The workspace is where you develop your website. You can start by typing anything in the workspace. Let's put a title at the top of our page, followed by a paragraph about our page. As you type, you may see some of your changes appear automatically in the preview area. Some kinds of changes will not appear automatically. If your change doesn't appear immediately, just click the refresh button above the preview area to update the preview. You'll notice that all the content on your web page gets lumped together, which is not what we want. But stay tuned. You'll soon learn ways to better control how your content appears.
All right. So even in the video, we have the same issue where all of the information is lumped together. So let's see if we can figure out how to fix that. I'm going to navigate to the continue button. That's my recommendation if you're following along with your own device as well in code.org to click the continue button. All right, so now we're on activity 4 here, and let's see what we have here. It says explore HTML. This is a web page written in HTML, the language of the web. You'll learn more about how it works, but first explore it by using the inspector tool. Well, what in the world is the inspector tool? Let me get rid of this. So I'm coming over here and I'm going to click this arrow. You see the hand? So that means we can click this. How do I use the inspector tool? Great question. Let's see. And I'm reading this information to you. The inspector tool is a great way to learn more about unfamiliar code in WebLab. To turn on the inspector tool, click Inspector Off. and that's down here. You will know that the inspector tool is on because the button will turn white and say inspector on. So let me click it to see. So right now it's purple and it says inspector off. If I click it, it turns white like they said and now says inspector on. Once you turn on the inspector tool, you can hover over anything in the preview area. So remember, this is the preview area. This is the workspace. So you can hover over anything in the preview area and Web Lab will highlight the code that is making that part of the page appear. So now over here, the do this, here's the directions I'm reading to you. Click the tip, how do I use the inspector tool? So we did that already on the right to learn how to use the inspector tool. And then next, follow the instructions in the web page to explore the web page and discuss with a partner how it's working. So let's do that together. I'm gonna lift this up a little bit. So my inspector tool is on and I can hover, and as I hover over things in the preview area, they highlight in my preview area blue. But if you notice, if you look to the left a little bit, they also highlight in our area where we were doing the coding, in our workspace. So if I highlight this first page, when I'm looking, I notice that welcome to the web lab are the largest words in our web page. And then I notice that this is a web page, inspector tool, and discuss look like they're about the same size and they're all bold font, just like this line is bold. Then I notice this area here is the smallest writing along with here and here. So those are the smallest writing. I'm asking myself how? How did the web page get different size words, get some words that are bold and some that aren't? I'm also wondering, how did we get this bullet points, these bullet points here, and this indentation? What do you think? What do you think? How did that happen? So let's hover over one line and let's take a look. So if I'm hovering over Welcome to Web Lab and then I look over to my workspace, I see it's highlighted. There's a line in blue highlight that says Welcome to Web Lab, exactly how I see it in my preview section. But I also noticed that there's some additional things that are in the workspace that are not in the preview. Do you see those? Look at the front of the sentence and at the end of the sentence. Do you see that? There's like a open arrow, then H1, close arrow. And then at the end of the sentence, there's like an open arrow slash, and then H1 and close arrow. What in the world is that? Where did that come from? It's not showing over here. So why is it in our workspace? Let's move on. The next line, I'm hovering over it again in my preview area and I'm looking in my workspace and I see exactly what's typed. This is a web page. All right, beautiful. It's exactly the same. But again, there are some things in the workspace area that are not in the preview. Here we are with some more arrows, open arrow and close arrow, but this time inside is a H2. What does that mean? And at the end, again, we have open arrow slash H2 close arrow. Yikes. What does this mean? Let's look in two more areas here. So when I hover over here, I see in my workspace, everything that is typed in the web page, the preview, is also in the workspace, but this time instead of H1, instead of H2, there's a P. This one has H2. This one has the P again. This has H2 again. There's the P. And then the line under, look in your workspace. We even have a U. What? Where in the world did that come from? And now if I go down, now we have LI. So between the P and the LI, there was a UL, but we don't actually see anything. So that's interesting. And we have LIs. All right. So students, we have lots of questions. Let's see if we can answer some of these questions. I click the finish button at the bottom right corner to go to the next page. And here's another video for us.
In this video, you're going to learn about using HTML to add structure to your web pages. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language and is found on all websites across the internet. There are a bunch of different HTML structures you can use on your web page, including headers, lists, paragraphs, links, and images. Let's take a look at how to create a paragraph in HTML. The sentence we wrote for our web page would look better if it was distinctly different from the title of the web page. To separate the two, you need to let the computer know that all of this text is a part of a paragraph and not the title. You can do this by creating a paragraph element. Most elements are made up of three main parts: an opening tag, the contents to be displayed, and a closing tag. Tags are a part of HTML language, and they signal to the computer the start and end of an element. In this case, it's a paragraph. Tags let the computer know what we want to display on the screen and what we don't want to display. That's why tags include special characters like the less than and greater than to distinguish from the content. Paragraphs are just one type of structure you can use in a web page. Soon you'll learn about a number of other structures that will give you even more power to customize your website.
All right. So she has just added a new vocabulary term for us. Did you get that? What was the new term? It's a word we've heard before, but not necessarily in our computer science class. And that is the word tag. Tag. So at the beginning and the end of each of those lines, when we were noticing something was in the workspace, but not the preview, she just told us that's because those are tags. So the tags are actually communicating how we want the words organized that we're typing in each section. Very cool. All right, click the continue button to go to the next activity. So, when we start our next lesson, we will actually be starting our next lesson with activity 6. So, be prepared for the next video that you would have gone through this and asked yourself lots of questions, because next we need to figure out how can we practice using some of the tags and creating some words for our web page. All right. I hope that this was helpful. Feel free to rewind and go back through it. And as you do so, ask questions. Look and see for patterns and what might change from line to line. It's almost like going through a puzzle or a maze of discovery. All right. I've enjoyed spending this time with you. Have a